There is a lot of debate over if you should rent your property to a Section 8 tenant or not. I recently posted a video explaining the reasons why you should not rent your property to a Section 8 tenant. Wow, let me tell you, that caused a heated debate in the comment section. But you know, I think it's always good to hear both sides of an argument and then make up your own mind. So today, I'm gonna flip the tables and I'm gonna give you 5 reasons why renting your property to a Section 8 tenant is a fantastic idea.
Subscribe.
Section 8 is a program that allows landlords to rent apartments and homes at fair market rates to tenants who will have their rent paid for them either partially or entirely by the government through a rental subsidy. Section 8 tenants receive a voucher that is good for a home with a certain number of bedrooms. For example, a tenant with a 3-bedroom voucher means that the government has agreed to pay rent for this respective tenant up to the payment standard of a 3-bedroom home. Payment standards are defined by the issuing housing authority and are available for review online. All you have to do as a landlord is accept the voucher holding applicant as your tenant, and the voucher will be redeemed monthly in exchange for rent paid to you from the government. Real fast, I think I should point out that in some states or municipalities, it's illegal to discriminate against someone simply because they are a Section 8 voucher holder. And I agree, an applicant should not be excluded from going through your application process purely based on their Section 8 status. So with that in mind, much of this discussion is just for entertainment purposes and to kick around all the things I've learned after renting my own properties for years to Section 8 tenants. Let's dive right into it with the first reason why renting to Section 8 tenants is an excellent thing. Never worry about vacancy. Many landlords bake into their financials a certain amount of planned vacancy. For example, I typically plan for a loss of about 2% annual rents due to vacancy. But it's not like that everywhere, and in other places, landlords may need to plan for 10% vacancy loss of rents. There are things that can drive this number up or down. For example, a 1-bedroom unit tends to have more turnover versus a 2 or 3-bedroom unit. Apartments also have more turnover versus single-family homes. And more turnover equals more vacancy. But what if I told you there was a trick to drastically reduce your vacancy loss no matter what kind of unit you're renting? And what would that trick be? You guessed it, renting to a Section 8 tenant. Renting to Section 8 tenants is like a gift from God when it comes to vacancy concerns. This is because Section 8 tenants rarely move. There really is a shortage of available housing that will accept Section 8 tenants. This makes it extremely difficult for a Section 8 tenant to move. Additionally, if a Section 8 tenant wishes to move to another city, they have to go through a difficult and risky porting process. And because of this, many Section 8 tenants stay in the same home for many years longer on average than non-Section 8 tenants. Furthermore, if a Section 8 tenant does happen to move, you should have no trouble at all finding a new Section 8 tenant to move in. And again, this is due to the shortage of housing and an abundance of available vouchers. Last time I posted a property for rent, I had so many Section 8 voucher holders interested that I struggled to keep up. It was difficult for me to respond to each of the interested parties. Like, my phone and email was blowing up. It's absurdly competitive. While this might seem like a great thing for you as a landlord, try to remember that it's exceedingly frustrating for tenants who are scrambling to find a property. Always be patient and kind to each person who takes the time out of their day to inquire about your property. But then again, hopefully you don't need me to explain how to be a decent human. Moving on to reason number 2 why renting to Section 8 tenants is magical. Magic! Rent always paid on time. During the 2020 illness, many people were unable to work, and as a result, they were unable to pay rent. Thus, many landlords had to figure out what to do without receiving rent, in some cases for months. The tricky part is the landlord was still responsible for paying the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and any required maintenance on the property. While some of this pain was delayed through a mortgage forbearance program, it didn't resolve taxes, insurance, and maintenance that were still due. This created a tremendous hardship on landlords that ultimately resulted in some landlords being forced to sell their investments. On the other hand, while this was going on, landlords who had Section 8 tenants in their properties were able to spend their entire day focusing on how to buy toilet paper because they were getting consistent rent month after month paid for by the government. And believe me, those landlords were loving the fact that they didn't have to worry about their rents not being paid. But even in normal times, having to worry about rent not being paid is a major headache that comes with the territory of being a landlord. I can't tell you how many times tenants wait until the last minute of their grace period to pay the rent. And even then, it's usually only after the landlord reaches out to ask about the rent. But with Section 8, the rent is paid on time and you know you will get the exact amount that is scheduled to be paid consistently. This makes the landlord's job so much easier, predictable, and worry-free. What's not to love? I'll tell you what's not to love. People who are this far into the video and haven't yet clicked the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Help out and click the like button It's the price of admission. All right, the number 3 reason why it's so awesome to be a Section 8 landlord is taking the guesswork out of real estate investing. When I was just getting started investing in real estate, one of the things that made me most nervous about buying an investment property is that I really wasn't sure how much it was going to rent for. When buying a property, you know the purchase price, so it's pretty easy to estimate your monthly mortgage payments to the bank. But you want to know if the rent is going to cover this amount along with any other costs associated with owning a property. But I had no idea. I was new to real estate investing, so it was really scary to lock in a costly loan that I was unsure if I was going to be able to afford. And then I discovered Section 8. Section 8 takes the guesswork out of it because they tell you right on their website what rents you can get for your property. And it doesn't really matter the year of your property or the number of upgrades inside of your property. They base their payment standards purely off the number of bedrooms in your home. So, for example, I knew I would get a certain amount of rent for any home that had 3 bedrooms. This gave me a lot of confidence to make an offer on a property and sign a loan because I could be certain that the numbers would work. But to be fair, they don't always pay the maximum amount of the payment standard. But I have found that they pay within the range of the payment standard, let's say 15%. So it gives you a really good idea of what to expect. Which brings me nicely to the number 4 reason why you should love Section 8, and that is high rents. I noticed right away that payment standards for rent were shockingly good. There are a couple of reasons why the rents offered by Section 8 are so good. Firstly, the housing authority really needs more housing in the program. So they attempt to entice landlords by offering higher than market value rents in many areas. Secondly, they take broad strokes at pricing. They just don't have the bandwidth to set prices for each individual market within a county. So they try a one-size-fits-all approach. But this inefficiency creates some serious opportunity for landlords in certain areas. For example, in Contra Costa in the Bay Area of California, there is an upscale city called Walnut Creek where rents are typically very high. But also in Contra Costa, there is a city called Antioch where rents are typically much lower. And as a result, the rents Section 8 is offering for homes in Antioch are much higher than one could get renting to tenants in the open market, which is also nice because the homes in Antioch are much less expensive to buy in the first place. It's a win-win for landlords who are looking to invest. Moving on to the number 5 reason why you should love renting to Section 8 tenants. Leverage. I don't mean the kind of leverage you have when putting 20% down to buy a much more expensive property. That's leveraging your money, which is awesome, but what I'm talking about here is leverage over your tenant in a way that you simply do not have with non-Section 8 tenants. Let me elaborate. Let's not get carried away here. The point I am making here is not that you as a landlord get to lord this leverage over your tenant like some kind of evil tyrant. No, never do that. I am bringing this up because it's the opposite of what most people think about Section 8. Many people assume that Section 8 tenants are unruly deviants who will run roughshod right over your property. While certainly there are some bad Section 8 tenants, I think a lot of landlords don't realize that there is this extra layer of protection when renting to a Section 8 tenant. You see, many tenants wait years to be able to receive a housing voucher. Additionally, they may struggle financially and depend on this voucher in order to keep their family from being homeless. The last thing they want to do is screw something up that will cause them to lose their voucher. They know the housing authority can and will revoke their voucher for not following the rules. Okay, since you're still here, I'll give you a bonus reason to love renting to Section 8 tenants, and that is a sense of pride. That's right, not everything has to be about profit. There is a certain sense of satisfaction that comes with knowing you're helping to provide housing to those in the segment of society who are most in need of a place to live. Many people on the Section 8 program, if it weren't for their voucher, well, they would be homeless. And this program only works if there are landlords willing to participate and rent to Section 8 tenants. Be sure to subscribe for more awesome real estate and personal finance content. Until next time, you guys are awesome.